This is the Highly Sensitive Club, episode number 15.
Have you been told you're too sensitive, too dramatic, or too much? Do you have big feelings and deep thoughts you don't always know what to do with? I'm Stephanie Lynn, a certified life coach and highly sensitive person. I've helped dozens of highly sensitive clients feel more energized, more confident, and more in control of their high sensitivity. In these episodes, you'll get the information and inspiration to level up your life as a highly sensitive person too. Welcome to the Highly Sensitive Club.
Hello, highly sensitive person, and welcome to this week's episode of the Highly Sensitive Club. I am really excited for this topic because it coincides with the program that I am currently launching, Emotional Alchemy, transforming overwhelm into connection and confidence for the highly sensitive. And so I am in full on excitement talking about the power of emotions every single day, and I am in it. So I am really excited to take all of this energy and to bring it to this week's episode so I can share a little bit more about this with you. And the reason that this is important is because I find that a lot of us highly sensitive people have learned to intellectualize our emotions and our feelings. We're really comfortable talking about them. We're really comfortable venting about them to others or venting about the thoughts that we have about them. But it can be kind of hard for us to tap into the part of us that can express them and feel them, like actually feel them in our bodies, because we probably discovered somewhere along the lines that it was scary experiencing that kind of emotional intensity, which is something that comes very easily to us as highly sensitive people because that's what we naturally do. So we just found coping mechanisms and we found survival skills that helped us tamp down on the intensity of what we were feeling and to build up patterns and kind of a net that we could put on top of ourselves so that we don't have to feel all of these big, heavy feelings all of the time. And while that is really helpful for us to survive and to get through our day and not be completely overwhelmed and just curled up in a ball on the bed, it is not helpful to us in living as fully functioning adults who want to go out and do things in the world, because we need to have access to our feelings and we need to have access to our emotions because they're part of our experience as a whole human being. Now, a lot of us have been told, and I mentioned this in my last episode about overwhelm, a lot of us have been told that our expectation is that we should be striving for happiness 100% of the time. And if we're unhappy, or if we're not grateful, or if we're not joyful, then something is wrong. And in that case, any instance of anxiety or stress or any kind of challenge or disappointment or frustration is something that we should try and get rid of as soon as possible. And this gets us into trouble because when we try and get rid of negative emotions, which are totally normal and are part of the whole package of being a human being, we spend a lot of time resisting them, and that's how they grow. It's almost like it's a teeny tiny little monster. I'm thinking of like Monsters, Inc. And it casts this big long shadow because we've shoved it into a closet and we've closed the door and we're trying to pretend like that part of us doesn't exist. We don't have frustration and disappointment, and we don't get embarrassed because we don't want to feel that way anymore. So we take steps not to feel that way. But the more that it stays in the closet, the longer the shadow gets and the bigger it gets inside. It's like fermenting in there, that little tiny creature, and then it turns into a monster. And so the longer we resist our emotions, the stronger they become. So we've created this coping mechanism where we think that if we tamp down our emotions and on the intensity, then they won't be as unmanageable. But what we actually do is make them stronger by doing that. And then they come out in these weird ways where we're snapping at other people, we're avoiding and hiding out from the world, we're escaping into books and TV shows and video games and movies. And there are really two ways that I talk about with highly sensitive people that this might show up for you. The first one is an explosion. X means out. So this is when you might raise your voice at someone, or you snap at someone, or you lash out, or you throw up your hands and say, whatever, I'm done, and you walk out. This is an explosion. You might also have learned that explosions did not feel good or they weren't safe. So instead, you implode. Im meaning inside. And that means that you turn it inward. You turn it into self-judgment. You turn it into doubt. You turn it into self-pity. You turn it into any kind of frustration that you have on yourself. And it could, over time, turn into perfectionism. It could turn into imposter syndrome. It could turn into long-term depression and anxiety because you're not addressing that emotion that you shoved into the closet and made it stronger. So the key here is to, number one, embrace your full range of human experience, because you as a highly sensitive person actually are able to access a bigger capacity than average just right off the bat. And while that can seem scary because you might have taught yourself over the years that it's not safe for you to feel these big feelings, ultimately, the best thing that you can do for yourself is to learn how to feel them and still help yourself feel safe and comfortable and certain and like you have your own back. Loving and accepting all of these big emotions is crucial for you to be able to express your gifts. So, emotions are part of the package, both positive and negative emotions, and we need both of them because number one, they're normal. So if something is normal, then that means it should be part of our regular experience. We can incorporate it into our day and it doesn't have to derail us. And number two, if we don't have a comparison between positive, quote unquote, and negative, quote unquote, then we don't know how to appreciate or how to handle one or the other. You can't have happiness without having grief or disappointment or sadness. You can't have excitement without also having a little bit of fear and trepidation. And the funny thing is with a lot of emotions, sometimes emotions are like mirrors of each other. It's like they're two sides of the same coin. It's like people say love and hate are very similar to each other. It's like they're a mirror because they actually feel very similarly in our body. They're both very passionate feelings. They both have kind of a heat to them and kind of an intensity to them. It just depends on how you label it, which way it goes, and then how you experience that in your life. So when you're able to experience your full range of emotions, number one, you're actually able to handle the emotions more easily because you haven't resisted them and then increased the intensity and the strength yourself. So you've made them more manageable. And number two, when you learn how to feel your feelings, everything that we do is based on a feeling. Now, when you take action, and I know a lot of you probably are kind of worker bees, like you're very comfortable taking action, doing a lot of work, you have lots of activities and your life is very full. But when you do that, sometimes you're coming from a place of trying to avoid pain. You're trying to avoid your own self-judgment or your own doubt or your own self-pity or your own disappointment. So you're actually coming from this place of fear and scarcity rather than taking the same actions from a place of excitement or anticipation or love or curiosity. And so you can have the exact same action that you take. For instance, you might post something on social media. If you're posting a post on social media and you're coming from this place of, I need to do this because I need to connect with people. I feel guilty I haven't posted anything recently. People want to hear from me. I haven't updated anyone on what's going on. That's coming from this fear and this scarcity place. And it might not feel very good. And you might come to the action with a little bit of apologetic energy or defensiveness that you feel bad that you've done something wrong. Now, you might also do a Facebook post or an Instagram post or a social media post, but you're coming from a place of excitement where you can't wait to share something really cool that has happened. You're coming from a place of openness or curiosity, and you're waiting to see, do other people have this experience too? Am I alone? Or is this something that other people can relate to? And it builds that sense of connection. So as you can see, it's the exact same action, but when you come from two different places, it has a huge impact on how you perceive it and how you show up to the action. So when you are on board with your feelings, when you learn how to accept all of your emotions and to be with your emotions so that you can take action from the place that you want to take it, or to spend some time loving and accepting and healing and allowing the emotions that are making you feel more uncomfortable or keeping you stuck, then you get this broad range of options and opportunities that you can use where your feelings are actually on your side. And another thing that happens too, especially if you're in this, I'm just going to take action and see what happens. Sometimes that's great. But again, when you're stuck in this mode of taking actions because you're afraid of something bad happening, you get into this habit where you're taking actions and then you have lots of intensity and lots of inspiration and lots of motivation, and then you drop off. And so it's this very black and white, all or nothing. You're either all in, you're doing it 110%, you're nailing it, or you're not doing it at all because, oh, you didn't do it perfectly. You didn't manage to do it the way you wanted. It didn't turn out the way you expected. And so you're just done. This is a dichotomy that happens when you're not allowing yourself to feel your feelings, because the normal things that might come along with something not happening the way you expect them to, you push them away, you resist them, they become stronger, they become more intense. The fear builds on itself and it becomes a cycle. So you can take a lot of action, but when you lose momentum because you're not actually coming from a place of love and joy and acceptance of all of your emotions, you're going to fizzle out. When you come from a place of experiencing your whole self as a highly sensitive person, suddenly it becomes easy to sustain those long-term actions and to maintain consistent effort so you can actually get the things that you want. So it's a very simple process. And this might sound kind of crazy, because if you're one of those people who's listening to this episode and going, how do you feel your feelings? Like, I don't even know what that means. I was absolutely that person as well. About 6 months ago, I'm listening to like podcast episodes about how to feel your feelings. And I was like, I don't know what that means. I have no idea how to do that. And the process is actually very simple, but it does require some effort if this is not something you're used to doing. So it's a skill that you can build. And the idea is, whenever you're feeling a way, especially if you're feeling a way that you would normally try to avoid or resist, that you would shove into the closet, and then it starts to grow and become bigger, and then it comes out in these weird ways, the goal is to recognize what that emotion is in the moment, then take a moment to identify, what is this feeling? Am I feeling annoyed? Am I feeling frustrated? Am I feeling disappointed? Am I feeling doubt? Am I feeling confused? Am I feeling overwhelmed? Or it could be something positive too that you might not be letting yourself experience. Am I feeling pride in myself? Am I feeling excitement? Sometimes for us highly sensitive people, excitement can feel kind of scary because it's a very intense feeling. And so just like the negative things that you might be avoiding, you might be avoiding some positive feelings as well, because you might be afraid of the intensity of positive feelings. So instead of allowing yourself to be curious, to anticipate things, to feel exhilarated, you kind of tamp that side down too, so that it doesn't get too scary. So whatever it is that you're trying to identify, try to get specific about this. And you can start with the 6 main emotions, which are happiness, fear, disgust, anger, sadness, and surprise. Now, you might have heard different combinations. This is just one way to look at the main emotions. If you use a different framework, that's totally fine. Use a different framework. But I find that these ones tend to be pretty all-encompassing. And then from each of these main broad umbrella emotions, you can get a little bit more specific. Like within the realm of surprise, you might be overjoyed or shocked. If you're in the realm of sadness, you might be depressed or discouraged. So the more specific that you can get, the more powerful this becomes. Once you're aware, at least generally, of what the emotion is, but then more specifically, if you can get there, then your goal is to actually feel it in your body. Because all emotions will create a sensation for us. And I'm sure you've experienced this, like if you're nervous and you get a tight stomach, or if your throat tends to close up, or if you start to get a little bit nauseated because you're so afraid of something. This is your mind actually creating an emotion that you then feel in your body, as opposed to a sensation which starts in your body. It's totally physical and based on external things that then goes up to your brain so that it can tell you, like, do I need to run or hide, or do I need to fight something? So when you're feeling emotions in your body, they could be in a number of places. And there's a whole 360 realm of how you can feel these emotions. So you have your front body, you have your side bodies, and you have the back of your body as well. So maybe when you're stressed, you feel some shoulder tension and the back of your body, but you don't feel anything in the front of your body. This is just an example of how things might be in the front, might be in the back. You might have kind of an all-encompassing feeling, but whatever it is, be curious about it. Just be a little bit open. How exactly does this feeling feel in your body? Is there a tightness? Is there an openness? Does it feel a little bit scary for there to be this openness or this expressiveness that you normally pull in and keep very close, like you're holding cards close to your chest? Does it feel tight? Does it feel cool? Does it feel hot? Is it kind of a vibration sort of feeling, like it's a tingly feeling, or there's a sense of movement? Or is there a sense of stillness? Is it numb? Is there something that you normally feel that starts to go absent when you feel this particular emotion? whatever it looks like for you. And it's probably a combination of things. So get curious and pay attention to your body and where this is showing up. And then when you know where it is in your body, the goal is to just sit with it with attention. If you've done meditation or if you've done any mindfulness practices, this is where this is going to come in, because this is where the power lies. This is where you actually look at the tiny, cute creature that is your emotion, your adorable emotion as a human being. And instead of shoving it into the closet and closing the door and letting it get bigger, you're just sitting with it. You're sitting with it. It's here in your body. And you're saying, okay, frustration. Okay, anger. Okay, hurt. I know where you are and I'm sitting with you, and you can stay as long as you want. And you'll find that might be a scary phrase for you. You can stay as long as you want, but you'll find that when you let the emotion stay as long as it wants, it dissipates. It is bonkers. It is the most counterintuitive thing I have ever experienced, but it is legit. Try this with one emotion and you will be shocked at the results. When you feel it in your body, you pay attention to it and you just accept it. Suddenly it starts to fade. And I experience this all the time. My workshop last week, How to Feel Your Feels, my participants experience this, that it feels kind of intense to start, but ultimately it fades over time, sometimes very quickly, sometimes a little bit more slowly. But when you can hold that capacity and pay attention to it, it does fade and then it goes away because you're allowing it, you're accepting it, you're not trying to push it away. And then you can take this a step further by telling yourself things like, this emotion is normal and it's okay. I'm willing to feel this. I'm willing to handle this feeling. I'm capable of holding this capacity. And when you tell yourself things like that and you practice them, you actually do expand your capacity to feel both good things and bad things. And just like they're two sides of the same coin, this is like a yin yang. So your ability to experience one or the other is going to be directly proportional to how much you let yourself experience the opposite. So, for instance, if you're having trouble feeling positive emotions, if you're having trouble feeling joy or excitement or laughter and humor, it might be because you are not expressing your negative emotions and allowing them to exist so that you can overall expand your capacity. If you feel very comfortable with your negative emotions, but you're having trouble really leaning into them and feeling them. So you're comfortable saying like, I don't feel good. I'm feeling fine today. I'm frustrated today. You're good at talking about the negative emotions, but you're not good at feeling them. Expanding your negative capacity is actually going to grow the good stuff that you actually are pursuing and wanting most of the time in your life. So these two things actually coincide. And much like the analogy with love and hate, how they're two sides of the same coin, when you expand your capacity to love or you expand your capacity to accept the natural hate that might arise, or dislike or disgust or contempt, when you learn to accept that part of yourself and say, I see this. I don't have to act on this, but I see this in myself and I accept it because it's part of being human. Suddenly your love can just grow and grow and grow and grow, because that natural capacity that you have as an empathetic, highly sensitive person will just blow up and explode with this capacity to feel both of these emotions and to empathize more with other people. And the benefit of doing this, because here's the other thing, you can also choose your emotions. The benefit of doing this is that when you align your feelings with the way that you want your life to be and the actions that you're taking, you can do things consistently. You can build new habits that are sustainable. You stop judging yourself and doubting yourself, and you actually make progress. So that is why I am teaching this 6-week course, Emotional Alchemy, transforming overwhelm into connection and confidence for the highly sensitive, because I want to teach you every single day with group calls, with the exercises that I'm teaching, with the lessons that I'm producing every single week. I want to teach you how to incorporate this lesson into your daily life. So hearing about it is great, but actually applying it and putting it into practice and using all of your highly sensitive gifts, your attention, your focus, your depth, your empathy, and applying it to this particular skill set of learning to feel your emotions, this is going to change things for you. And I genuinely mean that. So you can cover any area of your life in this program, but it is all going to benefit. So let's say you want to work on your health and you have recently had a diagnosis of something and you're really struggling with it. You're like, why did this happen to me? I've done everything I'm supposed to do and this still happened. This sucks. I can't believe my life is different. You can think about all of the things that might be coming up for that. Instead, you can't change the fact that you have a diagnosis, but you can change the way that you feel about it. You can choose how to be more present. You can choose how to be more connected. You can choose how to be more accepting. You can choose how to be more grateful. And that sounds crazy. I know. If you're like, I just had a diagnosis, how could I possibly be grateful for this? You might not necessarily be grateful for the diagnosis, but you could be grateful for all of the opportunities that you have, for the relationships that you have in your life, for the things that you have accomplished. There are always opportunities to feel the way that you really want to feel if you're willing to expand your capacity and you're willing to practice it and accept it. And this is a skill. Again, if you are a thinky person who is used to talking about your feelings, but you have no idea how to express them or feel them, this is a skill that you can learn and you can practice. And I say this as someone who did not have this skill for the majority of my life and has been practicing it and learning from it. So for instance, in my example, I shared in my imposter syndrome episode that I have a couple of side gigs. I'm a mentor and a coach at my training school. I run my coaching business, but I also drive for Grubhub just to fill in the gaps when I have slow weeks so that I don't have to show up with desperate energy to my clients. I have side gigs because this is what happens when you grow a business. This is what I chose to do so that I could still pay my bills and do my thing. Now, full disclosure, 2023 was a rough year for me doing all three of these things because I was convinced that I had all of the tools I needed. I was going through my coach training program and I was going to get certified and the world was my oyster and I was just so excited. I had pro bono clients and they were turning into paying clients and everything was great. And then I didn't know how to market and expand this particular coaching business. And so I suffered a lot last year in 2023 because I had all these expectations about how things should be. And I was so disappointed that they weren't happening the way that I wanted them to. So I was resisting and I would go out and I would drive and I would make money and I would be so miserable and angry and cranky and resentful the whole time. Resentful of me, resentful of the universe, resentful that things didn't turn out the way I wanted them to. And I suffered for many, many months until fall of last year when I started working with my coach and started to get out of this cycle and to do additional work around feeling my feelings and expressing my emotions. And these two things combined really helped me break out of that space where I was genuinely miserable almost every single day, especially the days when I had to go drive. And now not a lot has changed. I'm still doing both side gigs. I'm still doing this business. I'm still growing. I'm still learning. But because I've changed the way that I'm feeling about my business and about the way that things are going right now, I actually have the capacity to build a program where I can teach you and help you learn how to be steady and to be your own rock while the rest of the world and all these crazy circumstances just flow around you. You don't have to go around things. You can actually work with your high sensitivity and with your emotions, and it can really change things for you. When I stopped resisting all of the negative emotions and just sat with them and learned to accept them and love them, they passed quickly. And then I had more capacity for the good stuff so that I could tap into creativity. I could tap into curiosity. I could bounce back from setbacks and feel more resilient because I was feeling those negative emotions instead of avoiding them and resisting them. And that's what I'm teaching you. If you have money relationship problems, your relationship with money is suffering and you're beating yourself up, you're judging yourself. Maybe you have debt and you're beating yourself up and kicking yourself because you took out debt in the past. You could imagine a world where you just accept the fact that you have debt and you don't have to beat yourself up and you don't have to judge yourself. Self-judgment is a theme I see a lot with my highly sensitive clients, and it's something that I can teach you how to let go of in this program of Emotional Alchemy so that you can take that overwhelm and the self-judgments and the doubts and the worries and the anxiety and sit with it and learn to be with it and accept it so that you can also expand your capacity to connect, to tap into creativity, to learn how to be decisive. So that's a health example. That's a money example. Maybe your relationship with time needs some improvement. Maybe you would actually like to feel like at the end of the day, you're proud of what you've accomplished and you are satisfied with the actions that you took instead of feeling like you're spinning your wheels. I can help you with that too in this program. You can actually come out of it feeling more satisfied, knowing that you are discerning about the actions that you're taking. Your mind is in the right place, which is creating the feelings that you want to take the action. And when things don't go your way, or when you're having trouble making the decision, you can actually sit with yourself with a little bit more compassion and a little bit more love and acceptance so that you can actually accept those things and then move on and make the decision and feel good about it, regardless of how it turns out. Because that's the other thing. We're going to do a lot of things in many areas of our lives that don't turn out the way we expect and they don't turn out the way we want. And so dealing with that discomfort, dealing with the frustrations or the disappointment or the doubts that might come up is part of this experience of learning to feel our feelings and then to let them go. Because the more we resist something, we're actually holding on to it. We're actually grasping it because we're trying to control it. When you can release it and let it go, it fades and it makes more room for other things that you actually want to welcome into your life. And the final example is with relationships. If you have relationships where you want to take up more space, share your voice, you actually want to express your preferences and your desires, and to know that you are being your full self with the people that you care about, whether that's friends or partners or family members or clients or business partners, we can help with that too. We can work on this together. I'm going to be running through the program as well because I'm working on my relationship with food. I have had a lot of resistance and a lot of scarcity come up because I am trying out AIP, which is the autoimmune protocol, not because I have an autoimmune deficiency, but because I'm curious to learn more about my relationship to different kinds of foods. And so the idea is to eliminate certain foods and then to very purposefully and mindfully add them back in. And I started this yesterday. I've done this before, not this particular protocol, but something similar a couple of times. And I walked into the grocery store and I just felt so upset that there were things that I couldn't have that I wanted to have that I liked. And that feeling, that sense of loss or restriction is so interesting to me. And that's what I'm working on. My relationship with food, my relationship to wanting to get pleasure from it, and how can I deal with urges? How can I deal with cravings? How can I deal with impulses and the discomfort of not necessarily leaning into them, but choosing something different for myself? So I'm actually going to be going along with the program with my course participants, and I already have 3 people in out of a total of 10 spots. So if you are interested, I would love for you to go to stephanielynn.com, that's LINN/emotional-alchemy, and I will have the link in the show notes as well, so you can go and check out the sales page. Doors close this coming Sunday, April 7th, 2024 at 11:59 p.m. Eastern, right before midnight. And I would love to see you in the course so that you can build community with us in our pop-up Facebook group. You can do the daily exercises in the workbook that I have created specifically for this program. You can watch my weekly lessons. You can get coached. And as a bonus, I've also created one bonus. It's a tool called Identifying and Uncovering Your Resting Emotional State. So this is like, what do you normally feel? What's your resting state so that you can be aware of it and then change it into something you like better? And the second thing is a private one-on-one coaching session with me that you can use anytime between now and the end of May when the course officially closes. So you get all of the group coaching, you get a private session with me, you get the bonus tool, you get the workshop, you get the practices, all kinds of cool things. If you're interested, go to stephanielynn.com/emotional-alchemy and check it out. I have 3 different payment plans, whether you want to do pay in full, which is the best value. I have a 2-month payment plan and I have a 3-month extended payment plan past the course delivery. And if one of those works for you, or if you have additional questions, you can book a call with me. You can do the payment plans. I want this to be flexible and I want you in the program so that you can learn how to expand your capacity. You can learn to take action from the place you really want to take it from. And you can actually take all of those beautiful, highly sensitive gifts, your depth, your perception, your intuition, and channel it into applying it and using it to your benefit. If you're interested, please go to stephanielynn.com/emotional-alchemy to learn more. And I would love to see you in the program before doors close this Sunday, April 7th, 2024. Thank you so much for listening to this episode and hearing about the power of emotions, why negative emotions are actually really important and essential to us as humans, how expanding your capacity for negative emotions also expands your capacity for positive emotions, and the power of taking action from the emotions that you choose rather than the emotions that you're resisting and letting get bigger and more intense and scarier. I hope you got a lot out of this episode, and I can't wait to see you on the next one, my dear highly sensitive person. See ya.
Thanks for listening. If you're ready to take what you learned today to the next level, head over to StephanieLynn, that's LINN.com, and book a consultation call to get started. I can't wait to see you there, my dear HSP.